You're still commissioner?
I'm still commissioner.
Okay. Is it very pressuring at times? Like, can it be very pressuring?
So at times it can be there can be a lot of pressure being a county commissioner. When you have, complex problems and you get two sides and, different groups opposing or supporting what the issue that we're looking at. So that can be pressure to make a decision. You know that somebody is gonna maybe be happy and somebody is not going to be happy, and I think as human beings we always try and make other people happy, so yeah. So
who else has a question? Wayne,
Do you like your job a lot?
do I like my job? I love what I do. I am so privileged and honored to be able to serve my community, to be able to help, I believe, create an opportunity for everybody to be able to live their best possible life and to help address some of the issues and challenges that we have as a community. So to be able to help problem solve and do those kinds of things, there's nothing better in my life I've ever done. So.
As far as when it comes to like your family, can you prioritize it? Do you seem to manage it? Do you have a lot of siblings?
That's an interesting question. So I have a very small family. It's myself and my wife. We have 4 cats that live in our house. We have three cats that live in our yard, so I take care of them. But other than that, that's the size of my family here. And my wife is happy, I guess, that I'm busy. And so I'm at a point in my life where I can prioritize what I do, and not really, it doesn't detract from my home.
Would you want to start having kids?
That was my next question.
I think at this point I'm not.
It's never too late.
I don't say it's too late, but I'm not sure that with what I do that would be a really good thing to do for the child, right? I'd like to be able to spend time with them.
Oh, you're not selfish. I like that.
Yeah.
Wayne, you said you had a question?
Sure.
You said? Okay.
Well, I love you.
Go ahead, fire away.
I got a lot. They just keep going and leaving my brain.
What advice do you have to give to like people about your position?
Understand that we're human beings just like everybody else. There's nothing special about us. I mean, I think the job we have is important, but we're just like everybody else. Sometimes it doesn't seem that way because you only see us as, in our, at least for me in my role as a county commissioner. But you come to my house, I'll be wearing my shorts and my T-shirt and doing the things that I like to do. And I have feelings. I care deeply about people, and so sometimes decisions that we have to make are difficult, and so when people are not happy with those decisions, I take that, that affects me as well. It's, you have to separate it, but so that I would say that's probably one thing, is that just regular people like everybody else. Go to the grocery store, go get gas in my car. There's nothing special about us.
Could you I'm sorry, describe like your actual job, like as far as.
So a lot of what I do is I do a lot of reading. Literally get hundreds of emails every day, and then if you look at our agendas and there's a lot to be read, to understand, because the county is really complex. There's lots of different departments and different things that we're responsible for. So you have to make sure you understand as much as you can about what is coming in front of you. And then, you know, the initiatives, the things that my priorities, I work on things like water and the environment. So understanding water, both, you know, water that we drink, but water for the environment, and then storm water. So when it rains and we have storms, what happens to that water, and how do we keep people safe? I'm very interested in transportation, how we get around, but I also like looking at how we can use technology to help improve our transportation system. And I focus on mental health and behavioral health. A lot of people I know struggle with substance use and mental illness, and how do we, you know, as a community, make sure we have the resources and we can help ensure that people have access to those resources. And then probably the biggest thing right now, and has been since I've been on the commission, is housing. That everybody has a clean, safe, affordable place that they can live, and that everybody who, you know, works here has a place they can afford. You know, prices have gone up so much in the last few years. I'm sure you've heard about it from your families, and you know, it's complicated, and it's not fast to fix or easy. But and to understand, you know, listen to the experts, because I'm not an expert on any of these things. But you just have to learn about them, and then use what you learn to try and move those policies forward to help people.
Okay.
You guys out, or is it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay.
They hold it down. Y'all did.
They got me warmed up.
That's good.
Yeah. Now they're waiting for the hard questions to come.
What? Your background is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Where were you born anyway?
I was born in Los Angeles, California.
How long did you live out there?
Well, on and off. So I was living in Southern California. I didn't leave for the first time until after I got out of college. So I was there from when I was born until I was about 22. And then I moved to Oklahoma, and then back to California. And then I moved from Southern California up to Northern California, then to Chicago, to Ann Arbor, Michigan, back to California, then to I moved from there to Australia, from Australia to Seattle, from Seattle to France, and
What was your
go ahead.
Your career, your working background?
So I worked in information technology. I worked with computers, hardware, and software. In fact, that's how you and I met.
Right. On a boat? No, you were on a boat. I wasn't.
I was still living on my boat, and I came over and volunteered at
Clematis Street.
yeah, at your nonprofit, and I
Right.
helped specifically to help set up your network.
Right. Exactly. And totally appreciate it. What major corporations have you worked for in technology and IT?
Well, I wouldn't call it a corporation, but I worked for the University of Michigan. I worked for a company called Victor Technology. It was the first desktop computer company to deliver a commercial desktop computer. I worked for large company I worked for was and still around is Ingram Micro. So they're listed on the New York Stock Exchange.
What inspired you to go into technology?
Interesting question. I was living in Oklahoma at the time, and I went to a party, and one night this guy at the party says to me, he was talking to me about these little computers, and it was literally sort of the light bulb that you see on the cartoons that popped on above my head that said, this is going to be a big business. It's going to be a big industry, and I wanted to get involved in it. And he was, at the time, he was writing software, and so I went to work with him and learned how to write programs, and that's what got me involved in this.
Okay. how have you been able? How has technology benefited you, and helped you go forward through your career and through life?
Well, I mean, it's opened up every door. It created a career. It provided for my family, provided the income to support myself and my family. And it literally has changed the world too. When I think back, because when I started in the industry, that's before there were really, people didn't have computers at their homes or in their offices, and saw the whole world transform because of that technology, and it just opened doors for me and created a great career.
What's really curious is the way that you now deeply involved, entrenched, as a matter of fact, in public service. The curiosity comes from working in the private sector as long as you did. How many years was that?
22.
Okay, and then you've moved into, I remember when you were running for state representative, I believe?
City Commission.
City Commission, okay. And now you're remaining in that realm. Why? Why the graduation from private sector into public service and the advancement that you've made? And I'd also, how do you feel about the impact that you and your peers have made and are making at present?
It's okay. That's a complex, long question. So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
So I spent 22 years working in technology, and it really gave us a really great life, and it allowed me to retire when I was 44.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, and one of the things that I wanted to do was make sure that other people had opportunities. I mean, this country has given myself and my wife, just great opportunities and a great life. And so wanted to see that other people have the ability to achieve or do, what they want with their lives and create their own dream. And so public service was a way for me to give back, to give back to the community and to this country. I feel like I've just been a tremendous beneficiary. I feel like I was really lucky to be born here. I mean, sometimes I think, what if I had been born in sub-Saharan Africa? I wouldn't have been given these opportunities. And so I've been blessed. I thank my lucky stars, and I thank God for that, and feel like it's my responsibility to give back. So that's what got me into public service.
Okay.
And as it relates to what my board is doing, let me take you back 3 years ago. I got into public service to try and help the community, but shortly after I was elected, COVID happened and the pandemic, and everything shut down. Nobody knew anything, and to be able to serve my community in one of the most difficult times with my colleagues on our board, that was quite an opportunity to be able to really help during a challenging time. Just to share with you that what we saw, I mean, literally, it was you either were looking at people dying or economic disaster, and that's what we were forced to have to deal with. And obviously, and it's terrible to have to shut down businesses and say, people, you can't go to work, and we don't know how you're going to support yourself and your family. But even worse is to have people die unnecessarily, because the economy can always be rebuilt, and thankfully the government stepped up and funding became available to help support their families. But lives can never come back. And we didn't know where things were going. We didn't know how COVID was spread. We didn't understand anything. And so to be able to worked with my colleagues, and I think we found the sweet spot, if you will, of trying to balance the needs of our community. But the board, an interesting thing, we had a conversation early on, and we said, you know what, we may not agree on decisions we're going to make, but once we make a decision as a board, we're going to all work in the same direction, and that's what happened. That was a great board to work with, because and I think in a way it brought us closer together, and forced us to have to, we would be going out talking to the public, or actually we didn't go out, right? We had to do it on Zoom or on TV, because people couldn't come together to deliver a message. But we delivered only one message, and I think that helped our community a lot.
Hold on a second. Apologize.
It's all right. It's like at home. Guaranteed, when I want to take a nap, they're coming with those blowers.
Sorry about that. Impact. As far as what we're experiencing right now, it seems like it's worldwide turmoil. We have several major issues that are going on that are literally social justice issues. One of them has to do with what's going on in Ukraine. From what I've observed, there's been a lot of genocide.
Yeah.
The next one is what is going on at the moment in Israel, between Hamas and Israel.
Yeah.
And the third thing is what we are experiencing here with everything that has developed since COVID, I'll say, in our own country, with all of the racial issues. I believe from a lot of conversations that we're having in school and inside and outside of school, people are trying to find solutions. A lot of people are just complaining, and that's a natural way that things happen sometimes. But then again, a lot of people are looking for a solution. So here we are in Palm Beach County, and we have our own issues that we have to deal with, plus keep our eyes on the rest of the world.
Right.
So going forward, I'll sort of take it for granted that in your position, in your leadership position, that there is concern at the county commission about how the world is working at the moment, and I think that we're all very curious to hear from our leaders. How are we moving forward? What are some of the solutions that we could look forward to? We have things that are going on economically, and we have things that are going on educationally, and positive or the lack thereof. So just, if you could share some of that thinking or discussion with us, we would really appreciate that.
Well, I think, and clearly these are complex problems, and
Right.
if they weren't, we would have solved them already. Looking at the challenges, I think part of what we face, and somebody coming from technology, and watching the creation of the internet and the ability to get information. Part of it is, I think, we have a situation now where we have no longer, it used to be everybody agreed on what the facts were on what was happening. When you and I were growing up, right, we had 3 major networks. The news all said the same thing. It was only on for, a half hour or an hour.
Right.
That's it. And then, and it would play maybe 2 or 3 times a day, right? And that was it. Now you have 24-hour news cycles. You have 24-hour news channels. And I say news, a lot of it is not news. It's not fact-checked. It's not real journalism. And I think, social media has also exacerbated this. So people can put forth things that are not necessarily true, or maybe they're partially true, but they have in the past. You would get a newspaper, right? You'd read the newspaper. That was the day before that work was done, and people could check and they would put the story together. And the same thing for the evening news. So today, we're hearing things 24 hours a day, the same thing over and over again. And you look at something, and they can show something that makes it look like, oh, this is a much bigger deal than it really is. So that's part of the misinformation or disinformation we're dealing with. And I think it's hard for the general public to, to take the time to really filter out and say, okay, this is really what's going on. So now you see in this country where you have people saying, two different versions of the exact same thing. And quite frankly, there is only one version, and that's the truth. And so I think that's contributed a lot to, I think, some of the difficulties we're having. I think back though, and I have to say, I am really proud of the community I live in, our community. We are not without problems. Don't get me wrong. But I think back to, and you guys, I don't know if you remember, you may be too young, when Corey Jones was murdered. And if you don't know the story, I'll tell you the story, right? Corey Jones was a drummer in a band, had finished up, I think it was on a Saturday night, so it was technically very early on a Sunday morning. He had left his job, his gig that he was at. He had pulled off had car trouble, pulled off the 95 and was waiting for AAA to come help him with what was going on with his vehicle. So he's there for about an hour and waiting for this tow truck to come. And in the meantime, a police officer, not in uniform, so plain clothes, unmarked vehicle in a white van, came up the on-ramp the opposite way, so he was going the wrong way on the on-ramp, comes up to Corey Jones' vehicle and gets out of the car with no identification. Corey Jones sitting in his car, and he does have a weapon with him. I assume he takes his weapon out. I'm not perfect on this, but the officer shoots him and kills him. Corey Jones never fired a shot. I can't even remember if his gun was loaded.
Right.
And murders him. So you have a police officer killing he was an armed civilian, but doing nothing other than sitting in his car.
Right.
The community was angry. The black community was rightfully really angry because here's a guy had a stellar record too, never been in trouble with the law. Good family, minding his own business, had other than having car problems and murdered on the side of the road because of bad policing. But instead of having, riots or other kinds of things, there were protests, but the community came together in conversation to talk about the issue. And his family was as generous and as kind as could be to say, let's wait, let's for the facts to come out on this before we react. And yeah, they went to trial. The police officer involved was found guilty and is now serving a sentence for what happened. But I believe it's because we as a community here in Palm Beach County, we have conversations. We're not perfect, but there's a willingness to listen to one another. And I think that's what's missing in so many other places. You can't solve problems unless you're willing to sit down and first acknowledge there's a problem, but second, then talk about what the solutions can be. And watching that happen, because there were other communities during that summer that, other racial, and I don't even like to use the word race because there's only one race. There's a human race.
Right.
We have different ethnicities. We have different cultures in our country. We have different colors of skin. We may look different, but we're all human beings, and we solve problems by sitting down and talking about it. And I think that's what differentiates us from other communities I've lived in.
Okay, on a bit of a lighter note,
Yeah.
this is a middle and high school. So we've got kids that graduate from here and leave as seniors. So what, in your estimation, are some of the better jobs that our students can try to achieve the education that they need and acquire those jobs?
That is an excellent question. one of the things I've been working on, and I'm very, very interested in, is artificial intelligence.
Okay.
And I'm not saying a career in working in AI would be a great career. However, AI is going to be more transformative and more disruptive, I think, than anything we have ever seen. And with disruption creates opportunity. And so what I would say to young people is the opportunity for you, to prepare yourself for the future is your ability and willingness to deal with change, because things are gonna start changing faster and faster, and your ability to adapt to that change, I think, is gonna be key to your success. So that as things change, I think as human beings we have a reluctance to that. We like to do the same thing the same way and same. And change is difficult for us because there's uncertainty. But uncertainty, and that's what created actually my opportunity, right? There was this change that was coming with computers and technology. I happened to catch that wave. And it was really disruptive. And people, I remember, my mom was a secretary. She was in a typing pool, right? And there was a room full of primarily women who would type things because we didn't have copy machines. We didn't have a way to produce that. And so women, that's what a job they would give to women. And she did that. Well, those jobs are gone. I remember, when I was really little, there was somebody on the elevator, press the button on the elevator. They had elevator operators.
Right.
So jobs are going to change. But the key is to be able to adapt, to be able to think critically, to be able to problem solve and to be creative. I think those are going to create the best jobs for the young people of the future.
Sounds like entrepreneurship.
In a way, but there'll still be companies. There's still going to be opportunities in big companies, but they're going to be looking to hire people that can change as their business changes because of different things that are happening, that their workforce can change, right, and adapt to what's happening.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? And at the same time, while I'm picking their brain about that, if you have anything else that you would like to share, we would really appreciate it. Anybody else? Ariel?
I had one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
I heard you say something about you living in Australia.
Uh-huh.
How was that?
It was wonderful. Australia is it's a really nice country. I found it really similar to living here in a way. But I would say that Australia is like America, but like 30 or 40 years ago. I saw that kids there didn't seem to have to grow up as fast as I see children having to grow up in this country. That you still see them being kids even though they were 10, 12 years old. They're still, acting like kids, playing with toys and,
What do you attribute that to? The fact that the children who live in this country have to step up quicker.
I would attribute it to, honestly, their culture. That's what they allowed them to do, and encouraged them to continue to be kids. I think the pressure on children is immense, to be able to, I guess, and again, my favorite subject, technology. We put these phones in kids' hands. I don't know that that's a good thing.
Okay. Anyone else?
Did you say cultures or would you say parents?
That is a great question.
I like parents.
I think part of it, it is parents, but I don't believe it's by choice. I think parents are also under a lot of pressure. They're under a lot of pressure to, put a roof over their heads, put food on the table, and with that takes their time. We see a lot of single parent head of households, and when you only have one income, that's really, really challenging. And in fact, a lot of folks have to end up working 2 jobs or maybe even 3. which doesn't allow, you know, a lot of the time that people had in the past to spend with their kids. So I would think that, you know, yeah, there's some responsibility, and I think, you know, I don't know that we do such a great job too teaching people how to be parents,
Yeah.
you know? And so, you know, maybe we should have more resources. And, you know, I think childcare is really difficult in this country. It's expensive to find good childcare. And I think, you know, in a country like Australia, they have more I want to say social safety net there. So they have more resources for the families, not as much pressure. You know, here we all want to have a great standard of living, but to worship at the feet of celebrity or at the feet of, you know, just money, I don't think that's great either.
Everybody good? Well, we'd like to really thank you
You're very welcome.
for spending the time, coming to visit,
Thank you, guys.
and dragging your staff
After all.